Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be with all of you. And I'm mostly so excited to share Cara's story with you. She joined the 30-day challenge and has lost all this weight. And I just feel like there is something about sharing your story about how you made it happen and what thoughts. And because it's newer and you're so close to it, I am so excited to just ask you a slew of questions and help others who just are going through this struggle too and just don't know where to turn, what to do, how to do it. So tell us a little bit about your background in terms of your struggle with your body and weight. What was going on?
Sure. I have to think about it. I think I'm 36 years old.
I
You
get
have
it.
to think
Maybe.
back, 36. And I was always an active kid, active in sports. Fitness was a passion of mine. It still is. After college, I'm a teacher and I got into fitness. I worked out most days, running, half marathons, things like that. But I always felt like I was dieting or trying to lose weight and never, even if I probably lost weight, never felt happy, like it wasn't good enough or I didn't take time to enjoy that or enjoy the journey. And then my husband is very in shape and very good looking guy. He's definitely getting better with age. And we are both into kind of that CrossFit type style working out as well as kettlebells. So we both got certified um, as kettlebell trainers. And when I did that, I had to lose a little over 10 pounds to be able to lift lighter bells for the certification. Um, and then slowly after that, I just kept gaining more and more weight. And then I had a child and lost some of that weight, but then slowly was gaining weight. So when I got pregnant with my second child, I was probably 10, 15 pounds heavier than I would like to be, that I'm comfortable with. I'm 5'4", and I feel like my comfort level is between 130, 135. And I was 145, 150. And right before I got pregnant with my son, Graham, I had been exercising and like keeping track of my calories on my phone and how many calories I was supposedly burning, and the scale wasn't moving. Then I got pregnant and gained 40 pounds with him and lost 20 right after I gave birth. But then for 2 months and breastfeeding, I wasn't losing any weight and I was having to buy larger clothes and larger shirts. And I just was really depressed and frustrated. And it was over the 4th of July this last summer. And I just was like, I'm not in a good place. I'm not happy. I was with my family and of course at the lake, and I didn't want to put a bathing suit on and nothing fit and just blah. And I'm like, that's not how I want to live my life. And I didn't want to be in photos, just so many things. It's like, okay, enough's enough. And I've always told myself, I know how to diet, I know how to exercise. Why am I not doing it? And um it would be like I would try to do things and then I'd fall off the wagon.
Mhm, mhm.
And I couldn't be consistent. And I just said, okay, I'm going to look at some podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. I'm just going to see what's out there for weight loss. And so when I searched in Apple Podcasts, yours was the first one that came up. And I thought, yeah, I kind of like that. I like the mindfulness piece of it. Like I haven't really thought of that. And listened to your first podcast and I was like in love. I just felt like you completely spoke to me and you didn't annoy me. Like some podcasts I start to listen to and I just like, I can't. Um, and I just loved it. And I listened to another one and another one. And I was probably listening to 3 podcasts a day for the first couple of weeks, just like soaking it all in. And I just, yeah, that's how I ran into you, just by searching. And it's been life-changing.
Well, and what I remember is when you signed up for the 30-day challenge, like you were really active. You were like, you were telling me how things were going. You were sharing with me what was happening. So you signed up for the 30-day challenge, right? And then what started to shift to make the weight start to change for you and your body?
So I had told myself, I feel like it was all meant to be, right? Because I just randomly decided to search the podcast, started listening to your podcast, and like, wait, she's talking about this 30-day challenge. It's actually happening in a week. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like I should join that. And I think it was just, this isn't a diet. It's a lifestyle. I don't have an end date. I have some goals in mind and like having this vision, but it wasn't, it was just, this is going to take time. I've put on a lot of weight and I want to lose even more weight than that. And it'll take as much time as it takes, because it's not just about the weight in the scale. It's also about just feeling better and feeling healthier, and just knowing that the scale isn't the only, the only tell, I guess.
And so what did you, when you, as you recall, in losing all this weight, like what do you recall as, so one, I like that you didn't put this big pressure on yourself, right? You weren't like, I have to lose this amount in this many days. You had, it was like, let's just look at what's going on and make some adjustments. Was it adjustments in behavior, adjustments in your thinking, commitment to something? What started to shift? Do you recall in July when you're like, okay, this Marta speaks to me and I really like her process. It sounds interesting. I'm ready to go for it. And then when you started doing the 30-day challenge, what was it that really started you go, oh yeah, like I want to start, oh, I'm really starting to make some changes here. I'm seeing a difference.
So I remember telling myself, don't put too many goals down for the week, because I started journaling and telling myself how I feel and writing down some goals. So I also wrote down my visualization. So I did your 3-day free course as well, and wrote down those visions. And there's so many things. So I told myself, for one,
Okay.
kitchen's closed at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Because I found myself, especially with breastfeeding, that when I would go downstairs to put the milk in the fridge, or if I had to pump and I'm cleaning those things, like then I'm in the kitchen, and then I would open the pantry, and then I would grab the gummy bears or the energy bites, like something. And I felt like I deserved it, because just ridiculous.
Yes.
So I just said, kitchen's closed at 8. And
Yes.
honestly, I have not eaten past 8 since. Like, it just was like, that's it. And
Fantastic.
my husband does, and he's been working from home, and we joke about it now, but he'll go in the pantry and kind of stress eat, and it's just so eye-opening
To see it now.
and he still does it, and it's fine. But he's aware of it or whatever. So that was one of my goals that I stuck with. I also started visualizing my future, because you really spoke to me when it's like, even if I lose the weight or when I lose the weight, I'm not going to look like I did X number of years ago, or when I lost all that weight before. I'm older, I'm different, so many things. I need to visualize what I will look like in the future. So really changing my mindset towards that, as well as my mindset towards other people too. Like when I see people that look good, instead of being jealous or like, I wish I was them, saying, that's awesome, like they look great, way to go, or whatever. Just changing that mindset. And I'm a teacher, and so I talk a lot about growth mindset with students, and yet I wasn't doing that when it came to my health and fitness. And so I just started telling myself, I'm not there yet. I'm not able to do that yet, or I don't like the way my arms look yet. And just sticking with that. And I think the different types of hunger spoke to me. Like just really thinking about, what type of hungry am I? Am I stomach hungry, head hungry, mouth hungry? And making sure to drink enough water, and just really waiting until I'm hungry. And the first 2 weeks were really hard, because I thought about food a lot.
Yep.
And I felt hungry a lot, even though it's just because I wasn't used to that feeling, because I was just always eating too much. And so really listening to that. I still struggle to leave food on my plate. That's still a struggle of mine, but I now just portion things out, and that's how I do that.
Navigate it.
Yep, like do a smaller portion, and then if I'm still hungry, or I wait 10, 15 minutes, and then if I'm still hungry, want more.
Beautiful.
And technology, the sitting down, putting technology away while I eat, even at work, like all these things, there's so many things.
But there are all these little things that just added up. But do you recall the time when I was telling you, okay, start listening to your body and honoring your body? And do you remember having any of that little voice like, but I just want to eat. I'm not hungry, but I just want to have food. Do you remember experiencing any of that?
Yes. I mean, there definitely was. But I never fully like binged and gave all in. But I remember being really frustrated. My husband wasn't home. Both kids were crying. And I said like no to the pantry, I think 3 times when I had to go downstairs for stuff. And that 4th time I was just like, I'm stressed and I want to eat and I'm going to. And so I ate a little bit and I felt guilty. I had that guilt, and that's what that was something I knew I needed to work on. I didn't want to feel guilty anymore about things like that. And so that's what I work on now too. Like a big part is not thinking of foods as good or bad.
Yes.
Like, and I can't, and one of the biggest things too is probably the telling yourself you can't have something. Like I can have whatever I want, when I want it, when I'm hungry. I make the choice to eat the grapes and the blueberries because those taste really good to me and they make my body feel better than getting the candy or the chocolate. And I might have a piece of chocolate, but now there's no guilt to that. Like just eat it. It tasted good, fine, but I'm going to fill up on the grapes, the blueberries, the vegetables, the meat, like just doing things that make my body feel good.
So when you went from having this thought of like bad, I was bad, or I shouldn't, or I can't, and you were more open to none of it's bad, I can have it. I'm just gonna have it when my body tells me it actually needs it. You were able to really hunker down and listen to that, even though there were times that you had those little voices. And then what about the ending meal? It sounds like it's still a little hard to like throw food away, but because maybe you have a little less on your plate or whatnot, then it's just easier because you can then stop. When that's done, check in, am I still hungry? And if you're still hungry, you go get it. Is that the strategy you've used? Because you're like, throwing away food just is not something I'm super comfy with.
Yeah, it's just really, it's something I'd like to work on because I think it's important to be able to just be done when you're done.
Yeah. But it is, we have this attachment to food.
I do. I have this fear too. I pack my lunch every day. And even when school started back up, I was really worried about that. And I eat my own lunch every day and it's fine, even when people are ordering out. And there's no regret. Like I enjoy the meals that I bring. But I've also noticed that whatever I pack in my lunch is probably going to get eaten at some point in the day. But I also have a fear of getting hungry and not having my healthy choices. And so it's like, it's fine. Like the system is still working for me.
Well, and that's when I talk about that this is a process. This is, health isn't this thing that you're like, oh, I just got to health. Yay, I'm done. Right. Like, oh, my mindset's amazing. I'm done. Like it's an evolution and we keep shifting and changing. And then, okay, so you lost all this weight and there's still things that you want to keep shifting and changing, as do I 24 years later.
Right. I mean, I think that's what's important. Like I've had success. I've lost over 30 pounds in 4 months. And I would say, like 3-ish months, and then have kept it off with like slowly maybe losing a little bit more.
Congratulations.
It doesn't mean, thank you. And it doesn't mean that I don't have areas to work on or that I was perfect or it's this perfect scenario. But it worked for me. And just this morning on the treadmill, I listened to you. It's an ongoing, I turn on a podcast, and I've also told myself I get to eat this. I get to work out. I've gotten up, I think, every morning for the last 4 months, except for maybe twice. And just tell myself I get to work out, and it's my self-care of getting on the treadmill. I'm just going to walk and drink my cold coffee, iced coffee. And if I decide to run, I decide to run. If I decide to lift, I decide to lift. But there's not this like, I have to get up and then I have to do this killer workout because of all of this. It's just moving my body and starting my day and feeling happy is huge for me.
That's so cool. I love that. If you had three pieces of advice, if you were like, okay, Marna, for everybody listening, anybody who's either going through the 30-day challenge, on my podcast, in the inner circle, who they want to lose weight desperately, what do you feel like could be some real big pillars that they should focus on?
I think it's huge to not tell yourself you have to do this or you can't eat this. So whatever you decide to do, can you do it for life? Because if whatever you choose, I know friends that have done keto and they'll lose 15, 20 pounds. And as soon as they stop keto, it all comes back. So however you lose the weight, you have to be able to sustain forever,
Beautiful.
so to speak, or it slowly comes back. And I remember when I've lost weight, it's like, oh, I lost the weight. Okay, now I can eat all of this. And this was the first time ever where I finally on the scale saw my initial goal of 135. And I didn't think, oh, I'm done. I'm going to go eat this, this, and this. It was awesome. My day is going to be exactly the same because I feel good in my body right now and I'm enjoying this and I want to keep feeling good.
Oh, that is incredible. That is such a powerful thing for, I think, people to hear, because I often say, the way you're talking to yourself or the way you're acting on the way down, you don't suddenly hit this goal weight and go, oh, I love myself. It's like your self-talk matters, how you're showing up matters, and what you're doing matters, because we've all been there where we've gone like, oh, I've done this type of weight loss and now I'm done. And you're like, wait, and then you gain it back. So thinking about, and I was talking about like my grandma, right? I'll be like, my grandma's 90 some years old.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Like, what would I want to do that I could do until my 90s?
Yes. And if you're someone that's scared of the scale, then for me, and I was scared of the scale, I make myself get on the scale every day. And I tell myself it might be up or it might be down, but it's about consistency over time. Like, a range of 3 to 5 pounds. And if I see it go up more than that, then I think I might need to check myself and really see what I'm doing. And am I overeating or changing things? But like the other night, I ate Jimmy John's for the first time in forever and was trying not to have guilt or feeling like I ate too much or whatever. And I was. And the next morning, I didn't really want to get on the scale, but I just said I'm going to. And I was down, right? And then the next day, I think I feel good and I'm up a little bit. And then, so it's just taught me that it's just do it because it's about consistency. And yes, the scale said 135, but for a while I didn't know if it would show that. And I told myself it was fine because I was still feeling great. So
that's good.
That didn't matter, but it does matter because if I'm starting to not feel good and the scale is going up, then something has to shift.
Oh, these are so good, because all of these are such good tidbits of, it's like you said, when you put all these things together, it really created weight loss for you. So it created it mentally, you've been kinder to yourself. Physically, you've had some Like when you started practicing eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're satisfied, how easy or hard was that for you?
It was challenging. I would say it was like this.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
I don't like right now it feels easy, but I remember it being really hard and having some fear around wanting to lose weight and not eating too much or eating too little and finding that balance, but just really, I guess I was pushing hunger off as long as I could,
Mhm.
but making sure I was prepared so that I wouldn't binge or overeat when I decided I was hungry. So
Right.
it would be going for a walk. It would be delaying it. Like I started having these smoothies in the morning and I was getting really excited about them. But then I realized, but I'm not hungry for it yet.
Mhm.
So now I need to just wait. When I'm hungry, I'll have that smoothie. But I was all prepared to have a smoothie every morning before school started. And then I was like, but if I'm not hungry at 8, I'm not going to eat that smoothie. I'm going to eat it or drink it when I want. And so now I don't have the smoothies very often because I I almost intermittent fast every day without having that label because as soon as I've tried intermittent fasting, then all I want to do is eat.
Right.
So
Totally. You put the pressure on and then you want to
yeah,
do the
but it's
opposite.
like, oh, I'm gonna eat. What time is it? Okay, yep. Am I hungry yet? I'll eat.
And you bring up a really good point because I get this question a lot from teachers who say, or nurses who are like on a very scheduled, it's like they don't have any time that they could just eat. So
Mhm,
how have you navigated that in and around doing this? Because I like that you've been solution oriented and thinking, okay, wait, I wanted to have my smoothie, or my idea was to have the smoothie when I first wake up, but wait, I'm not hungry. But yeah, you could bring it, right? So if you do want it and you do get
mhm,
hungry and you want it, great, then you can have it. Are there any other little tips or things you've done that you think have really helped to make? You said you bring your lunch.
mhm. I make sure to pack that the night before
Okay. So
and
it's ready to
have.
rock and roll.
Mhm. I've found honestly Costco prepackaged chicken and some baby spinach and Olive Garden's Italian light dressing is the best when you look at the ingredients, and sometimes if it's light, things can other areas are spiked, but um, it's low calorie and it's really great. And so a salad and then fresh fruits, some vegetables, just having all of that available. Costco also has the hard boiled eggs
Yeah.
already. Yeah, like just trying to do things that are quick and easy. And we grill up a bunch of salmon every week and have that on salads or for dinner. And so just trying to simplify life and eating and
Yes.
with stuff we enjoy. I mean, the other area, I mean, that I felt was important was I shared it with my husband. In the past, when
Mm,
I've been trying to lose weight, I would hide it from him. And in fear, if I told him I wanted to lose weight, he might all of a sudden notice that I needed to lose weight. And maybe he hadn't noticed it before, or just feeling super self conscious and not wanting to share that. And I just decided to go for it and tell him everything. And assuming he could probably tell and he wouldn't judge me too bad because I just had a baby. But still, regardless, I think sharing this journey with him and I would share the celebrations or I would share like, I went and got a pedicure today because
I love it.
I
I'm
listened to
so
my body and
excited
because Marna tells me to,
now. Yay.
and just being able to talk about those things has been really huge. And the fact that he sees me every day, and if I hadn't shared with him all of this, he might not have noticed as much. And then you start to get frustrated with that. Like, how haven't you noticed that I've lost 10 pounds or 15 pounds or whatever? Like, but you don't when you see people day in and day out. When I told my friend that I see every day how much weight I've lost, she's like, no way. But then I see people that I haven't seen in months and they're like, whoa.
Right, right.
So,
Right, because when you do see someone every day, it's
mhm,
and it's wonderful that he was supportive. I've always thought that, whether everybody has different partners, and some partners are really lovely and supportive, and others are not as supportive and make it a little bit harder. And I'm glad that you were able to share it with him and it became something that was a joint partnership that you could celebrate together and that you
mhm,
included him in that process. It probably made it a lot more fun for you to be able to share your wins
yes.
and also reinforce what you're doing too. I'm going to go celebrate by going and getting a pedicure. I'm going to go. Those are all ways that our brain also gets this information that, like, I'm
Mhm,
celebrating me. I'm doing something nice for me. I'm taking care of me.
yes.
Well,
Yeah,
you look
all of it.
so beautiful. Your pictures are amazing, incredible. Any last words of wisdom, thoughts that you feel like, you know, I always like to know. Here's one of the things that I like to know. Like, when that voice tries to take you out sometimes, like, oh, just eat it. Come on, who cares? Da 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 da. What have you been able to do with any sort of self-sabotaging voice or thoughts? I just feel like that's so real when you tend to turn to food in your life for
Mhm.
emotional support or love or connection or protection. And here you are busy with a couple kiddos, young kids, working. How have you managed your inner dialogue?
Um, I try and take myself away from that environment.
Okay.
So, and which could be my head too. So maybe if it's because I'm emotional or upset, I start to write down my feelings or confront that frustration. Or maybe I go for a walk. Like if I'm just feeling bored. So I've noticed at work or at home, if I'm bored, I tend to want to grab snacks or go in the pantry for things. And so going for a walk and then just telling myself that in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if I still want whatever that is, I can. Um, and that's really helped. I mean, just saying I can have it in
Yep.
10, 15 minutes, or I can have it when I'm hungry. Um,
So good.
so
See, like I can just, that's why you were so engaged in the 30-day challenge because so much of this I can just hear. Like you've just taken it on. You've taken
I
this on a
like
hundred
soaked
percent.
in everything you said.
Yeah.
Everything. I was like, yes, 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 I can do that. That makes sense. And I kept trying to slow myself down because I didn't want to. I'm the type of person that will go all in and I didn't want to burn out and then do the complete opposite.
Yes.
And so I was just I guess I knew that about myself and just did what I knew I could handle. And sometimes it was taking on more than maybe some would suggest, I guess, but just writing down those goals and
And
keeping
taking
with them. Mhm. And just
and
reflecting.
and what I love is that then, like, after the 30-day challenge, you like said, hey Marna, I'm still doing it. I'm still staying in the conversation. I'm still listening. I'm still doing the work. Like I talk about staying in the conversation. It just
Mhm.
means like when you want to change your brain and change any habit in your life, there it's a reprogramming process. And to stay in the mental process and in the mental conversation is important, and you've done that, and I can tell by everything you're saying, and you even saying I keep listening, I keep staying connected to this material, and it's like your brain just gets it, and no wonder that you've popped off all this weight in such a short amount of time, but you've really taken solid action, solid focus, made this a strong priority in your
Mhm.
life, and you have the mental and physical tools that you've taken on too. It wasn't just physical for you, it was big mental. And I think that that's really important to mention, that this just wasn't let's do this with food, it was let's also do this with my mind.
Yes, absolutely. And I remember I was talking to my husband about whether or not to join your inner circle, and he said, just try it. without, because it seems like with all the talking you do with me, Cara, that you might be fine on your own. And if you're not, then do that. Like, join the inner circle if that's what you need. And so far I feel like I'm good on my own, but I also love that I know you are an email or call away, and I feel like you're talking to me when I listen to your podcast, and I keep wanting to get on a live and say hi, but I haven't had a chance to lately.
That's okay. And what I love is I mean, obviously I love you and my community of humans that I get to work with is just amazing. But ultimately, obviously, my goal is that you all, it's like you learn these tools, they become who you are, and then you just mosey on in your life and just taking on these tools, never having to diet again, never having to think about calories or restriction or any of that noise in your head, but the good, kind, loving thoughts that support you. And I'm just so delighted for you. I'm so delighted. And thank you for allowing me to interview you. It's so cool.
No, thank you. You have changed my life, and I tell everybody I can about you, and just say, look at her podcast. She has different options available. She's amazing, but she really speaks to me, because I just think so many people struggle with this and are looking for the quick fix, or, will believe just about anything, but really it's just, you have to find it inside you. And so it's interesting. I haven't shared my full journey with a lot of people, because at the same time, you can't compare yourself to me. So not everyone will have the same journey I had. It might take them 12 months instead of 4, or 2 years, or whatever. And so normally I think I would maybe post something on social media or want to share more in depth. Like the friend that is in your inner circle now, she's like, I can't believe you haven't shared your story yet. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't want people to see my photos and necessarily compare themselves to me, because that's what I used to do. And everyone's journey is different, and their before and after photos will be different, but that it's a journey worth taking. And Marna can help.
Oh, that's so sweet. And that's just so beautiful. And it is true. It is our own journey. And a lot of times, in my coaching, when you all know this, is that I will reflect it back. You'll be like, Marna, what should I do with this? And I'll say, what do you want to do with that? Like, so that, because it becomes your journey, not mine. How you want to be with food is going to be different than how I am with food. But I'm just so grateful. And I think it's worth sharing well, here it is. Your journey gets to be shared now.
Yes. No, and that's fine. That's not what I meant. I just, it's just been, I am very excited to share my journey with you and with everybody listening, but there was just a time and a place for it. And just being, I guess, more aware that, I don't know.
It's so loving what you're saying, though. No, I hear what you're saying is this lovingness of like, this has been my personal journey and yours could look different. Mine's not necessarily right or better or, anything, it's just been mine. And there's something sacred about holding it in that sacred space. And somebody could have their own sacred space and their journey as well. And
I wanted to share it because I want people to know how amazing you are and how you've impacted my life, but I haven't wanted to share it I'm not just looking for people to say, oh my gosh, you look so great, or oh my gosh, what did you do? Or I'm not looking for those types of things. I mean, obviously everyone likes to hear those things, but it's not my intent. And so I've struggled with how to share it. And so I feel like interviewing with you makes the most sense. And that's why I reached out to you too, to tell you that I finally reached my goal and all of this, because I just think you don't always get to hear those happy stories because they happen further down the line.
Yes. And that is also such a good point, is that it doesn't always happen like in 30 days, right? I mean,
Right.
it's the kickoff sometimes that you need to start moving yourself and getting that ball rolling. And then the weight just gets to keep coming off until it's off. And sometimes that happens, quickly. And sometimes that takes time. And sometimes, like you're right, it's a year or 2 years. Sometimes you need help with that. Sometimes, like you go, hey, I'm doing the 30-day challenge and I got it. I'm on a roll and I've got this. That's why this is all so unique and so personal. And thank you so much for sharing this, giving yourself to all of us and sharing your story, and for putting even yourself out there to say, hey, Marta, I want to try your 30-day challenge and give this a shot. It can take a lot to say yes to doing something when you've tried so many other things to get that strength up and to feel like, okay, here's another thing I want to try. I hope it works. And
Mhm.
I'm just it's so fun to see your pictures. It's so fun to see you with your family. And it's so nice to see you feeling good in your body and feeling like I don't have to change anything now. Like in terms of
Mhm.
the day you hit your goal, which you got
Yeah.
10 pounds below, like pre-pregnancy, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, like I don't have to do anything different. I'm
Yeah.
all there.
Yes.
So thank you. You're an inspiration to so many thousands of men and mostly women who are going to be watching this in my Thin Within community. Thank you so much. And I'm going to stop the recording. We'll talk a little bit offline, but thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Marna.
Mhm.